spend hundreds a month on subscriptions. You need to identify the subscriptions that you're not using or that you do not need anymore and get rid of them right now. Get rid of them. Hey everyone, 2 weeks ago we talked about the different levels or categories that we might be in regards to our budgeting. The top two, we talked about them. You can go back 2 weeks and watch that video. I want to focus on the bottom third level and bottom fourth level for these next two videos. I'm going to split them up because I think it's important. The third level is what I'm going to call the okay level. And what that simply means is you're doing okay, but you're not really that far from going under. And that doesn't mean that you're living paycheck to paycheck, but you're at the point where you could be getting there and you have debts that are not necessary and debts that are dragging you down, and i.e. credit card debts or something like that, or something you purchased that you don't even use anymore that you just are trying to constantly pay down, but it doesn't seem to be working because ends aren't meeting every month. At this level, you really do need to start looking at help when it comes to your budget. And the reason why I say that, and I don't say that disrespectfully, is because you need to get out of this hole in order to make sure that you can pay off the items that need to be paid off. So when we're in this position, I think we need to first identify the necessities we have that we need in order to survive. Now, we might not need to go into survival mode at this point, but these are the basic necessities that I believe everyone should have and that everyone would need to keep in the back of their mind when budgeting. So once we identify those necessities, and maybe there's more when it comes to you, that's fine. But don't cheat yourself, because those necessities could be holding you back if you're putting things in that category that do not belong there. I've said it before, we need to change our mindset, right? We need to figure out what is important and how we can get out of this hole, and we need to start thinking more in needs rather than wants, right? So a need is a necessity, right? A want is something, I want to go get a truck, or I want this new table so we can eat dinner together. That's fine, but is the table $500 or is the table one that you can get on Marketplace or at Goodwill for $10, and it'll suffice until you can get out of this pickle? Once you've identified the necessities and you've started thinking through how you want to do this and the approach and getting your mind right, you need to start thinking about identifying how to get there. It is very important to identify how you can get there, right? If we're in this position, there could be a multitude of things that led us there. It could be health. It could be credit card debt. It could be we bought a boat and we never use it, and it ended up being a negative for us, and something bad happened, like someone lost their job. We bought a house, or we bought a car, or we bought a truck, and someone lost their job. That happens. I work for a corporation, and we have RIFs. It's reduction in force. And it happens, and I would assume it happens in every corporation. So those things can happen at any moment's notice. You have to be prepared for those things. But that might be why we're in this situation to begin with. So we need to identify why we're there and how we are going to get out of this mess. So first and foremost, if the money isn't there and the budget is almost nil, so we're kind of bringing in exactly what's coming out every single month, that's fine, but you're not going to be able to pay off unnecessary credit card bills. I'm going to use that as the example ongoing. We're not going to be able to pay off those credit card bills that are charging you 25% interest every month if we're breaking even every single month. So what we have to first identify is the items we do not need anymore. So there's about 1 billion things right now you can subscribe to on a monthly basis. Some of them that I have Netflix, I have Spotify, and there are some of them that are good for mental health. Spotify. If I didn't have Spotify, I'm pretty sure my mental health would decrease greatly, right? But there's 1 billion things. There's so many subscriptions out there. If you don't have the big satellite TV items, you can literally spend hundreds a month on subscriptions. You need to identify the subscriptions that you're not using or that you do not need anymore and get rid of them right now. Get rid of them. Those subscriptions make us think in terms of monthly payments. And I will tell you right now, I cannot stand when people talk in monthly payments. And the reason being is that deters us away from thinking how much we're spending on a long-term basis. So if you go to a car lot, used car lot right now, they tell you, oh, it's only $450 a month. That's a $70,000 car after X amount of years. That's what we need to focus on, not the $450 monthly payment. That's an example of a car loan, and that's an example of monthly payments. I cannot stand when we talk in monthly payments. It is a ripoff, and people are just using your monthly budget to manipulate you, right? So getting back to the subscriptions and getting back to the things that you spend on a weekly, monthly, or yearly basis that you do not need anymore. We're going to try to get the income higher than the outgoing, and that's the goal. And then once we achieve that goal, we need to take that extra money and start paying off very high interest loans, or loans that are just $50 to $100 a month. That'll help us to gain more of that positive growth on our incoming instead of outgoing. I do not like the idea of paying off the lowest loan. It's called the snowball effect, and Dave Ramsey pushes it a lot. And the reason I don't like that is because I believe that you can save so much more money by putting a bunch of money up front on a smaller loan than trying to pay off a loan that's almost gone and depleted and almost past its life cycle, because you're not paying any interest off. But in this scenario, you need to pay off as many loans as possible, as quickly as possible, to get the difference between incoming and outgoing farther apart. That's the goal. The goal is to get out of the hole and to start climbing. So once we've started getting rid of subscriptions, once we started identifying things that can go and that we can cut from our budget, that's when we start identifying which loans we need to pay off first. Now, I would start at credit card loans, or doing something with credit card loans. They are horrible. They are 20 to 25%. I honestly do not know. I don't want to look it up because it's terrible. They are screwing you. They are terrible. You do not need a credit card loan. You do not need a credit card loan. I know, I understand there are certain circumstances that call for it. And I do not want to be some arrogant guy on a video saying, you shouldn't have credit card loans. I understand things happen. I understand property damage can happen that insurance won't cover. I understand health issues might happen. But that's just more of a reason to start this now, so you have the slush fund to account for those situations. Because right now, if you're breaking even every month, you don't have that savings to fall back on. And that savings to fall back on is hugely important, because I can have my water heater go out tomorrow, and that is going to be where I live, a $2,100 to $2,500 install for a 55-gallon water heater. That's it. That's not industrial sized. That's not a 75-gallon that they would put in bigger houses. That is a 55-gallon electric water heater, right? That's a lot of money. And if you don't have that money, you will have to loan that money or deal with no hot water. That is why we need to get positive. If you want to get out of the hole, you have to start somewhere. You have to start with your monthly budget. You have to start with your outgoing versus your incoming. What are you saving versus what are you throwing away on things you do not need? Now, maybe that's just temporary. Maybe you only need a year to get out of this hole. That means in a year, once you're on a better foundation budget-wise, you can start incorporating some of those subscriptions back in. That would be perfect. That's exactly why we budget, so we can have those things all the time. We budget so we don't have to worry about them. Because I guarantee you that if you're breaking even every month, or maybe a little bit positive every month, you are going to work sad, and it potentially could be affecting your relationships with your wife, your kids, your friends. That's what we don't want to do, because when we're in tight situations, when we're backed into a corner, we see what people do when they're backed up into a corner. If I'm getting attacked and I'm backed up in the corner, I'm fighting my way out and not really seeing who I'm affecting in the process, right? I just got to get out of that corner. Now, if we budget friendly We can get out of that corner with a perfect mindset, with intelligence, and with a good budgeting plan. Look, everyone, again, I don't mean to nag. I'm just here to help. I wish you all the best. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week and a good weekend. Thank you very much. Hit like, hit subscribe, and comment, and maybe I'll comment back. Have a good night. Bye.